Okay, here we are, Matthew Russell Lee, Inner City Press, here at the Southern District of New York Courthouse today, Tuesday, September 3rd, 2024. We're going in. Now on the Trump docket, as we reported late last week, Trump made a bid to move his case, his state case, down the street over there. This was a September 18th sentencing date still, here to federal court. But on Friday, after we recorded our last vlog, it was bounced by the court, not necessarily by Judge Hellerstein. It was bounced because improper filing, improper PDF, that could be cured. But basically it said you haven't shown either that the judge has consented to the filing, which I guess they could apply to ask for that consent, or that your opponent, in this case Alvin Bragg's office, has consented to it, which I don't think they would consent. So right now people are like, haha, they screwed up. They can obviously renew it. They could ask Hellerstein. It would just be a different kind of a filing. They could attach the same filing. Or they could refile a brand new lawsuit. I'm not saying that it has better chances that way, but it would be assigned, I believe, to another judge. And they've tried to comply with the principle of the rules, which is to not be judge shopping. They've tried to file with Judge Hellerstein, but they've been rebuffed. So let's see what happens. I believe something will happen one way or another today, unless they just slink away in that sense. Later this week down in D.C., Judge Chutkan will be having a hearing now that there's a superseding indictment by Jack Smith. So we'll be covering that even from afar. And here in the SDNY on Friday, there's a civil case. Eddy Grant, remember Electric Avenue? Some may not. I'm going to go down to Electric Avenue. He's been suing Trump, not even for this election cycle, but for the last one. Trump Biden. He made a kind of mocking video of Biden with some kind of road equipment, I believe. And so he's been suing for the copyright. There's also obviously ABBA. There's a lot of cease and desists out there on terms of the use of music at Trump events. I believe Harris may have been sued for some as well. She seems to pay a little more attention to copyright, but there is a loophole to all this, that if the venue has a license, they claim they can use it whether the artist later protests for whatever reason as well. So on we go. Now, there was also a seizure. This is a Southern District of Florida case. Whether it's a case or not, it was a seizure of the Maduro jet, and the idea is that Maduro's purchase of the jet in the United States violated sanctions because he's a sanctioned individual. Why he couldn't buy a jet from another country, I don't know, but they seized it in Dominican Republic, they've taken it to Florida. Maduro has denounced it. You better expect the UN to come out pro-Maduro. Why do I say that? Because Antonio Guterres backed up Juan Orlando Hernandez, a narco-trafficker. He's sent a crew down to Venezuela to check out the election and said that his report would be confidential. What's the point? Why are we paying for this? And speaking of Guterres, he was, as we reported last week, he was on a junket. He went through Tonga. He went through Samoa. He was in Timor-Leste. He left there in August, and nobody knows where he is now, except he's probably in China because he's going to appear at something called the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation, FOCAC, which is an annual sort of debt peonage confab, but doesn't really start until the 4th, and Xi Jinping's not speaking until the 5th. So Guterres is basically out of pocket while, as you can see what's happening in Gaza, and you can imagine what's happening in Ukraine and Russia. So the UN is a failure. Inner City Press is applying to get back in and ask these questions. But regardless, we're going to be back in the SDNY and probably in state court today. There's the siren. That's our call. Inner City Press, to be continued.